Meanwhile, President-elect Trump will soon be handing over control of his own business empire to his children. Mr. Trump tweeted that he'll be forgoing his business interests in order to fully focus on running the country, adding that it is, and I quote, visually important as president to in no way have a conflict of interest with my various businesses, end quote. To discuss this, Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me, a national political reporter for Real Clear Politics. And again, Caitlin, just last week, Donald Trump sounded very defiant on this topic, saying there is no conflict of interest for a president. He then tweets today that he will be doing this. He'll be holding a December press conference. What do you make of it?
Well, I don't think it eliminates the potential for conflicts of interest. I mean, handing the business over to your children who are on your transition team, who figure to play a significant role behind the scenes, whether official or not, in your administration does not relieve the potential conflicts of interest in the administration and, quite frankly, the ones that are already there. You talk to experts on this, and they say that he needs to dissolve the business in some way. His lawyer has said that he would put it in a blind trust to be run by his children. Of course, that is not the definition of a blind trust. In order to really relieve himself of these conflicts of interest, he would have to leave his children out of this, right? Leave the company, liquidate it. And that's just something that he's not showing any inclination of doing. And in fact, he's even said he doesn't want, or his surrogates have said he doesn't want to, get his children out of this business.
Especially, it's striking too because he points in this announcement this morning to the idea of optics, and yet optically, I can't imagine whom this might satisfy.
Well, I think that's the real issue here, is that, by saying I'm getting myself out does not address the fact that his children, who are very much a part of this administration, would be in charge of it in that setting. Again, we don't exactly know how he's going to do this, but by the indication of the tweets, it just seems like he's doing what he said he would do, which is pass it on to his children, which is still, the importance too is that he still conducts a lot of his meetings in Trump Tower, where his business is located. Yeah. He is going to be spending time there, he has given the indication, while he is president. So those conflicts of interest remain. There's
a real straw man perspective here, to be sure. I want to turn to the cabinet picks. The latest ones announced: Steve Mnuchin, poised to be Treasury Secretary; Wilbur Ross, tapped for Commerce. They add to an increasingly long list now: Wall Street insiders, Washington power brokers. In fact, our Major Garrett said, look, he sees two dynamics here: the Mike Pence group and the Donald Trump loyalty friend group, all of whom, it could be argued, may alienate a base that wanted him to drain a swamp.
There's a certain irony here about Donald Trump appointing all of these billionaire friends of his to these key positions. He campaigned against Clinton on this regard, campaigned against her making speeches to Goldman Sachs, and yet his Treasury Secretary is a former Goldman Sachs banker coming from a family of Goldman Sachs bankers. The other thing, though, is when he campaigned, he talked about these friends quite frequently. He brought up Carl Icahn, for example, at almost every turn. He talked about his friends in this business, but he talked about it in a way that says, I know how this kind of works, and this is not what I'm going to do, that kind of message. So there's the irony there, but there's also the precedent that he set, that it's not surprising in some ways that he would bring on his friends, because he talked about doing it throughout the campaign.
If we look ahead then, decision on Secretary of State, it's said perhaps now to be moving into next week. The tea leaves we have to read, what do you make of them all?
Well, this dinner with Mitt Romney, I think, a lot of people are looking into it as the Secretary of State choice, that they're kind of hashing that over. I think you really have to look at what that image of them sitting at the table does by itself, even if he doesn't go with Mitt Romney. I mean, it's that image of, look, we're sitting at dinner together, relieving all these tensions, we're making up, I'm making these outreaches to various different people who weren't loyal to me, who were actually very opposed to me, and, kind of look what I'm doing, here's the symbol. So it could just be that. It could just be, we saw him bring in Ted Cruz, and there was talk of him for AG, of course. And that didn't. But
everybody got a look. Mitt Romney had that meeting in Bedminster. This certainly, I mean, again, we've referred to it for days now, that this really does appear, if nothing else, to be perhaps Donald Trump just looking to stoke drama, looking at a storyline here.
Right.
And whom does that help?
Well, that's unclear, and this is going to kind of go, I think, into the administration. So Donald Trump likes the drama. He likes the intrigue. Having Kellyanne Conway, of course, with his blessing, really, go out and talk publicly about the opposition to Mitt Romney, who could well serve in his cabinet, is really striking. I've talked to a lot of experts on foreign policy and such, looking at the Secretary of State choice, and Kellyanne Conway brings up some really good points in that regard. The Secretary of State, they say, should be on the same page as Donald Trump, especially when you're going abroad and representing the interests of the president you serve. And so that, we saw Bob Corker come out yesterday, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, also said to be considered, although these picks will go through his committee, saying Donald Trump needs to pick someone who is on the same page with him on foreign policy. That is not the description you would apply to Mitt Romney.
True. It was rather striking, though, to see Kellyanne Conway essentially look to perhaps intimidate her boss on his preferred medium of Twitter, albeit over Thanksgiving weekend. Lots to get to. We have to leave it there for now. Caitlin Huey-Burns, as always, we appreciate it.
Thanks.